Welcome, Sofie Refer from the lighting design brand Nuura, based in Copenhagen. Sofie, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's very nice. Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. Yes, beautiful spring day here.
The same in Denmark.
Good.
It's very nice. The light is back. The natural lighting is back, which is, of course, the most important.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you're here today to really discuss the inspiration behind your brand and some of the details behind your lighting design. So that's a really good point to start on. Please tell us more about your inspiration behind Nuura.
Yes, thanks, Michelle. Actually, I would like to talk a bit about the name Nuura, because it tells much about the whole idea and our intention with Nuura. And the name Nuura is Nordic, and it means light and honor. So it's also interesting when you look back at the business plan we was creating, the whole foundation for Nuura, you can see over and over it's repeated that we wanted to appreciate light and we wanted to honor light. So actually for the founder group in Nuura, when we found this name Nuura, we were very, very, very happy. It was like a greater meaning for us, because it reflects really our deepest intention with the company. And as we just talked about before, now spring is here, and lighting is for all life, of course, it's so essential to us. We cannot live without daylight. And of course, superficial lighting is never the same as natural lighting, but it's there to replace the natural lighting when it's not there, when it's not accessible for us. And especially when you live in the Nordic lands, you have the change in seasons, right? So during the winter time, we're very dependent on artificial lighting. So for me, it's really, I want to honor light because it's so fundamental and so essential to us. And also I want to pay a deep respect to light, so because I know how important it is to us and how much it affects us. So when you work with artificial lighting, it's so important that you work with quality light, a light that provides a quality, a good light. And also, I also find it very important to work with the aesthetics, because also aesthetic also affects us. So today we know much about how much lighting actually affects us, because new science shows us how it really affects you. And it's so interesting to learn about this and to learn how that it affects your mood, it affects your energy level, it even affects your heartbeat and your body temperature. So it's so obvious how important it is. And therefore, with this knowledge, of course, when you work with light, it's to have this knowledge. It's so important that you respect this, and that is what we try to do in all our work. So at Nuura, it's very important for us that we use the right light sources all the time, because of course when I create a light and maybe you would have this light, I know that it affects you. So it's a great responsibility.
It certainly is. Yes, I think we've all noticed how much darker this winter's been this year, because we've been at home a lot more. So this year more than ever, I think how important lighting is to our homes.
Yeah, that's right. Even in this time, it's when it's not. I mean, when you live in the Nordic lands, you would often maybe go to the south during the winter, and this winter it was not not possible, of course. So
yes.
So I know that personally, I'm very sensitive to lighting, and I'm much aware that this is really the main reason why I create lighting. So basically, I I create lighting that I'm longing for myself, and that I desire myself. And for me, this is also a way that I can ensure that what I create is authentic, because it's
way to design. I mean, you know, your talk us through actually a little bit how you go from conception to actually realizing a design.
In all my designs, I'm very inspired by nature. I find that in nature there's a great inherent intelligence, and I have this idea that this intelligence really affects us in a positive way. And of course, again, when you look at science, you know that when you go into nature, it affects you in a very positive way. So in a way, I hope that when I create design that somehow reflects this intelligence, this is what I strive for. I hope that my designs would have a positive impact on people. So now I talk, of course, about the creations, the design, the shapes, the colors, the pattern, the various patterns that is in my design. It's all something that I see in nature, and something that I'm inspired of from nature.
Tell me about your inspiration with water and the shapes of the glass.
Yes, there's definitely some similarities when you talk about glass and water. I mean, when you work with glass, it's also fluent, and the transparent quality that water has and glass has. So it's really a way to try to it's a very good material to reflect the qualities of water. And the qualities of water is, of course, that it can take any shape, and also what is so wonderful about water is that it reflects light. So when you look at water, of course, the small sparkling reflections is something that, to me, it's just nature expressing joy and that flexibility. And yeah.
Absolutely. So how do you balance the aesthetics and functionality?
Yeah, I think functionality and aesthetics are equally important, actually. So as we talked about just before, we know today how much lighting really affects us. So for me, it's very important that it has the right quality in light. And when you talk about the basics there, it's of course, it should have the right Kelvin balance, the right color temperature. It should also have the right Ra values that reflects that shows the color, the right color in the right way, almost as good as daylight. And of course the right lumen, the right intensity of the light. These are the three most important facts to look at. And so for us in Nuura, we always investigate the light sources available, and we work both integrated LED and we work with normal light sources. So it's all the time we are looking how is the LED improving and which are the best one.
Absolutely. So quickly.
Yeah, and it's of course important to use light sources that is dimmable so that you can adjust it, because also it's very different, and if it's intense or if it dimmed, and if you dim it more, you can create more like a warm and ambient atmosphere. And maybe of course if you need more light for working spaces and so on, you can work with that. So that's a basic. So that is the functionality there is very important. And of course it's also important that that in Nuura that we have various lighting products that meets various needs, of course. So whether it's for working or more decorative. And at the same time, I find that the aesthetics is just as important, because it's also now we know that aesthetics has a great impact on you. Our surroundings has a great impact. The colors, the shapes, it really affects us a lot. And I think there's more and more awareness about this. So it affects our minds really, and how we feel. Just as lighting affects us, also beautiful and harmonious surroundings and a nice interior decorating, it totally affects us. So it's something that maybe before, there's been times in history where you would think more that the function was the main thing, and aesthetics and shapes was more in the background. But I think there's a growing awareness that this is so important for your well-being.
Definitely. Well, I think you've actually just answered my next question with that summary. You have the perfect balance of aesthetic and functionality, and constantly investing in new technology. So my next question is, Nuura has only existed for just over 3 years. What do you think has been the key to your success?
Yeah, it's a good question.
And a hard one to answer.
Yeah. I hope that the success that we are experiencing in Nuura is because we have it's based on some values and some very strong intentions. I hope that's the main reason. And also very, very important is the organization, is that we have a strong organization, and of course some of our values is also based on creating a healthy organization, and that the organization must be based on strong values, right? And the thing that something that is almost magical is, for me, when starting a company and growing a company, is to see how more people join Nuura and really contribute in their way to Nuura. And I'm very much aware that it's not something that I just take for granted. It's something that I really, really value. And of course we are much aware how important it is. It's without a good organization, it's not possible really to reach the goal that we are heading for, and to grow the company. And it's something that it's really, it's a great thing to experience this. It's something you can't almost describe it with words. But if, for instance, the other day, one of my colleagues, she told me that she felt so engaged in Nuura, and she felt that the lighting was almost like she had created the lighting herself. Mm-hmm. It was really, very touching for me, because it was a very touching moment, because for me it's like you feel that you are really a group, and you're together with other people creating something that is greater than yourself, and that is it's a great experience. And
that's beautiful.
yeah,
that's beautiful. I mean, you are like a family. You have a great solid team working around you. I can certainly say that.
Yeah, and also knowing that when you are alone, you can of course create something when you're alone, but when you're in a group and when the team is working well together, you can really create something great. And that is it's a great thing. And it's back to your question. I'm sure also that this is one of the reasons to our successes, that we have a strong team and a strong organization.
Great, great. So just some tips on lighting from an expert, really. What do you look at when you are, what would be your top tips for lighting a room?
Yeah, I think most important when you decorate a room with lighting, it's to question yourself how you use the room, because most of the time a room has many functions, also various functions during the day. So you should ask yourself how are the various ways that I use the room, and then make sure that you have the right light for these events and things that you do. So for instance, if you look at a specific room, a living room, or it could be, for instance, if you look at your entrance area, it's maybe when you are leaving your apartment in the morning, you would need a lot of light to find your things and grab your jacket and so on. And maybe later, same day, you would invite some guests. So then the hallway or entrance area, would be the place where you welcome people. So in that situation, it's another situation. You should have some nice, beautiful ambient light and create a nice welcoming atmosphere, right? So that's a totally other setting of light. So if you make sure that you both would have a nice all-round light that provide a good light, and also at the same time turn the light down and maybe have some more beautiful decorative light for the welcoming situation.
That's really good advice. Thank you, Sofie.
Yeah, and I think that lighting is really also, when it comes to decorating a room, it's so essential, because you can have a very nice architecture, you can have very nice furniture, but if you don't have the right light setting, it would all really fall apart. And
it's an important thing, isn't it? Sofie, I wanted to ask you about chandeliers. There are lots of chandeliers in your collection, which is sometimes quite unusual. Please tell me more.
Yeah. Well, at Nuura, we always the chandelier is our signature and the starting point for all our collections. So when I create a collection, I always start with the chandelier. And personally, for me, the reason is, again, back to my goal, or what I'm striving for, to honor light and to create a chandelier. To me, that's the best way that I can honor light. And when I've created a chandelier, I would create an entire family around the chandelier, a collection of light. So what would be meaningful, either pendants or wall light or floor lights for that specific collection. And the reason why I like to work with the family and the collection of light is again my inspiration from nature. And that inspiration comes from repetitions. So when you look in nature, you would find a lot of repetitions. And I find that in nature, you both have repetitions and also variations. And when you create a collection of light, each of the light is unique and must be, beautiful in itself. But also each is a little bit different from the other, but it's still part of the same family. So this is something that I see in nature too, that you see the repetitions. And when you decorate with an entire more lights from the same collection, I find that this is a way to bring harmony into a room, and just this repetition again, it just brings balance in a room, simply, like the same calmness and balance that you find in nature.
Yeah.
So that's something I think is so interesting about nature, is the simplicity. When you look at it, there's so much simplicity, and again, there's so much sensuous and there's so much grandness at the same time. And when I look at my own design, I really try also to balance this to create something that is simplistic and at the same time is sensuous. And again, when you asked before about the glass and the water, when you work with optic glass, there's a lot of, you know, beautiful sparkling effect, and that is very sensuous. So you can have a very simplistic construction, and then you have this sparkling glass that is so sensuous and just something that your eyes look at and you just forget about time, maybe.
It's a very different way of creating a range, which you've, you know, your approach and the way you've started is very different. It's one I've never heard or seen before. But what you've actually done, whether it's a happy accident or whether it was just meant to be like that, is you've created a really concise, fully understandable, easy to work with collection. Tell me about your new collection.
Yeah, right from the beginning, we decided that we wanted to work with the other international designers. So the first 5 collection was designed by me. So in that way, I set the frame for Nuura about chandeliers with a collection, in a collection, and also a set of values that we have, and the DNA about appreciating nature, honoring light. And we wanted from the beginning that to work with other designers. So we are inviting people to design lighting for Nuura within the frame that we have and within the values that we have. And it's a very important thing for us, because this is also a way that we get challenged. And it's so interesting now. I'm working with the designers that we work with in Nuura, and it's very, very important for us and interesting, because the dialogue that we're having with other designers, the perception of light, the meaning of light, what's valuable, it's challenging us all the time. So it's a way for Nuura to expand and get challenged, and also to have diversity, which I think is very meaningful.
Absolutely.
So
your new collection is with Paolo Rosato. How did you meet?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
How did you meet Paolo?
Yeah, it was actually so that my partner Dan, he had a connection to Paolo. So we approached Paolo and talked about Nuura and our values and what our intention was with Nuura. And we were very lucky that he wanted to work with us, and it has been really, it's a great pleasure for me to work with Paolo. Paolo, he is a very thoughtful person, and he is very reflecting. He is very questioning everything he is doing. So we are having some very deep and very interesting conversation again about light and the lighting business today. And
perfectly,
Paolo has a very interesting history, because he was founder of Luceplan, so he also knows what it means to have to start a company, to grow a company, and he just have a great experience, and he knows he has a background and history that is very, very interesting, and of course you can very clearly tell that all this knowledge, he is using this in his work. So whatever he do, he reflects a lot, and it's all based on his experience, which in the end creates a successful design.
Absolutely.
And mostly he's a very passionate designer, and for me, I think I'm quite sure that successful design is based on a great personal passion and a great intention. So when you look at a design, you can tell if the designer really cared about this design, if he or her had a strong intention and was passionate to do it, as perfect as possible.
Indeed.
So you can tell that, and indeed with Paulo, he has the passion, he has the knowledge, he is very reflecting. So it's just a great base for creating something that is successful. So, and we will be continuing working with Paulo, and also we are working with other designers. So in the coming years, we'll be launching more products with other international designers.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see what's coming next. Thank you so much for your time today, Sofie. Really appreciate you telling us more about Nuura and the lighting designs. And really looking forward to seeing you in September for 3 days of design.
Yeah, it will be lovely.
Yeah.
Or to be able to travel more again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.